Hello, my friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today, I'm actually going to read the introduction of my new book, Parenting the Confident Child: How to Crush Family Dysfunction, Eliminate Behavioral Issues, and Raise Excellent Communicators. Enjoy. Introduction. Hello. Thanks for taking the time to read this book. Let me preface this with a disclaimer. None of the advice you read in this book will be breaking news because you probably heard everything I'm going to share with you many, many times. However, you will never hear it the way I lay it out for you. Add a dash of ADHD, sprinkle in several sidebar conversations. I literally have tons of them in here. Then saturate it in love. And that's the exact recipe for this book. So there's my claim. Also, be sure to check out the complimentary course that I've created for you to implement the information in this book. Just go to www.parentingconfidentchildbook.com. Use the code ParentingConfidentChild for immediate access. For the past few years, I've been challenged to write this book by a client. I dare not mention her name. However, it rhymes with Tammy Polk. Actually, that's her exact name. But don't tell her I told you. So I'm finally doing so. Are you happy, Tammy? I know you're reading this and shaking your head, so you're welcome. Now that I've probably embarrassed the ever-loving crap out of Tammy and gotten the disclaimer out of the way, are you ready to sit down and chat about this parenting gig? It's like the longest unpaid gig in the world, but once you master the tips I lay out for you in this book, you won't ever feel slighted. I am no doctor, lawyer, dignitary, or human with a gazillion degrees. I'm simply a mother who got it wrong a lot, heard a lot of wrong advice, and used what I've learned to develop a system that works for the entire family unit. And I want to share it with the world. As a former foster child who happens to have ADHD and knows the pain of feeling unloved, abandoned, rejected, and confused, I wanted to share my parenting advice from the perspective of the child who battled with identity and self-esteem, which led to challenging behaviors. Although everything I mentioned in this book has been covered in the world before, you won't get the humor, love, support, and just plain old Tamika-isms that I will share. My promise to you is to share with you exact same strategies I use with my personal clients all over the world to help them go from overwhelmed to overjoyed in their parenting. I want to help you peek into the mind of your child or children so that you can parent them with absolute confidence each time. Over the course of the past 2 decades, I've helped, raised, mentored, coached, trained, taught, and even fought with, we'll get into that later, I promise, hundreds of busy families. And I've noticed a pattern in each and every one of them, no matter their economic background. Family dysfunction. It's a real thing. And it will rip through generations, destroying everyone in its path until someone is brave enough to end it. Guess what? You're reading a book from a brave one, me. I turned against the tide, refusing the destruction of another generation. Things like shame and mommy guilt are a flame to ignite the fire of family dysfunction. Then, as if mommy guilt wasn't enough, did I hear you say you have an unordered side of challenging behavior as well? What if I told you there's a way to eliminate behavioral issues, erase mommy guilt, and raise children who communicate so well they excel in every area of their life? What if I told you I can show you how to eliminate behavioral issues that leave your child empowered at the same time without all of the woo-woo? That's what this book is designed to do. I will share my personal family dysfunction stories, and let me tell you, they are extreme. Just so you know, there's nothing to be ashamed or afraid of. I'm sure your family dysfunction is a walk in the park compared to mine, because most families who are in extreme dysfunction, as mine was, wouldn't even pick up a book like this. Even though they should, I digress though. I'm going to digress a lot in this book, so stay tuned. Now, mommy guilt is at the root of family dysfunction. Don't believe me? Okay, I'll prove it to you. As a mommy, when you feel guilty about something, do you make healthy decisions? Shake your head no with me. Now grab a cup of Joe or whatever your beverage of choice is, and let's start at the beginning. I want to share a story of extreme family dysfunction. What does extreme family dysfunction look like? My mother left us with a stranger again. She told the man she would be right back. It took a while before she came back, though. I'm guessing she was gone for a long time because when she finally returned, the man was furious. They began to argue. Then he pulled out a gun and said, "I'm going to kill you." So my mother took off running down the Chicago alley. I was tired of her leaving me, so I immediately took off running behind her. There had to be an angel protecting us that day because I didn't hear the bullets whizzing past my head. I didn't feel the uneven ground under my feet. I didn't even hear my mother's feet as they pounded the pavement away from me. It was as if I was in a trance. I didn't feel anything. All I wanted to do was keep up with my mother. I take that back. I was feeling something. I was feeling frustrated. Frustrated because my little 7-year-old legs just couldn't keep up with my mother as she ran from this bad man. All of a sudden, I heard screaming. It wasn't me. It wasn't my mother. It was another voice. It was a woman. I didn't recognize her voice, but I clearly heard her say, "Please stop shooting. That baby is running behind her." And the next thing I knew, the bad man stopped. I finally realized that he was shooting at my mother and me because I was running behind her and we were in danger. The next thing I remembered broke my heart. My mother never once turned around to get me. Then I fell into the arms of a stranger. Which of the 5 types of dysfunctional families do you have? If you picked up this book, I'm willing to bet you're either currently in a dysfunctional family or you come from one. Never fear though, most families in the world classify as such, so sing it with me. We're all in this together. You didn't sing, but I won't hold it against you. Now, what classifies as a family dysfunction? If I had to sum it up in a sentence, I would say a family where communication, emotional support, and or love are in short supply. In my case, all 3 of these things were lacking. So me growing up in a dysfunctional family left me emotionally scarred. And I suffered through years of issues simply because I wasn't aware of the family dysfunction curse that I had been born into. Not all dysfunctional families are the same. However, each one will create specific problems that carry into adulthood if not addressed. Trust me, I know. There are 5 types of family dysfunction that I will talk about in this book. And would you believe that my family falls into each of those 5 categories? Talk about life dealing me a crazy hand. I'd say I was dealt 2 crazy hands. Sheesh. I'm sharing this with you to let you know you're not alone here. This is not a book of judgment, only a book of relatability and understanding. So the first type is the substance abuse family. Of course, this one is self-explanatory. If anyone in your immediate family has struggled with drugs and alcohol addictions, then this is your family dysfunction type. Drinking, drugs, and drama were all up and through my doggone family. Both sides of my family struggle with substance abuse. I'm gonna digress for now though. Number 2, the conflict-driven family. Got a lot of hurtful disputes, dramas, fights, and long-lasting feuds going on? If your family is known more for their fights than their friendships, then this is your family dysfunction type. Again, both sides of my family struggled to get along with each other and had extreme conflict. Some members will go decades without as much as a conversation with another member of the family. Number 3, the violent family. This is all types of violence: physical, verbal, sexual, mental, emotional, and psychological. If you grew up feeling unsafe within your family, then this is your family dysfunction type. I cannot begin to mention how unsafe I felt in my own family. I was afraid to breathe. That's how much violence was in my family. Number 4, The authoritarian family. This is the my way or highway type of family. Sounds like your family? Super demanding, harsh punishments, and little praise was something I grew accustomed to. Poor self-esteem is the only way you make it out of this family dysfunction type of life. And number 5, the emotionally detached family. Lack of love and or affection and repressed emotion. If you grew up feeling like you couldn't express yourself to your family, then this is your family dysfunction type. I don't think my family knew how to express love, so therefore they couldn't show me or teach me how to love. Traumatized and exhausted. That was the extent of my childhood. I had to learn how to function in the midst of dysfunction. Do you think I had behavioral issues? You bet I did. And it was cruel of the adults around me not to pay attention to the message in my behaviors. I wanted what every child deserves: to be seen, to be heard, and to matter. Instead, I felt like a burden. All because the adults in my life didn't know what I'm about to share with you in this book. It was a long road for me to find out how to love myself and others. I'm so glad I had people who guided me there, so now I can guide others. Are you ready? We will start by confronting and crushing family dysfunction from the perspective of a child struggling to be seen, heard, and wanted.